Hello everybody and welcome back to the World AI Challenge. This is part 2, where we left off in the final episode, or I should say the last episode, is that Europe is relatively wonky, as is the rest of the world. Of course, the Shoshone are currently at war with Texas, who themselves have currently 3 cities. The rest of the world seems to be fairly peaceful. We do, of course, have a expanding Persia into India. We have Vietnam also expanding into modern-day Bangladesh, as well as having Korea and Japan relatively peaceful themselves. So let's go ahead and continue. Of course, we also have England up here in Siberia, for no rhyme or reason. Right, so let's go ahead and continue to see exactly where we will be in part 2. This should last until about the early medieval era, give or take. Of course, the Shoshone have declared peace with the Texans, led by Sam Houston, which is good because, let's be honest, the Shoshone would absolutely decimate the Texans with their current army. And we do have a new city, founded by Washington, Philadelphia, in modern-day Fairbanks, Alaska. That may or may not be old. I'm not quite sure. Let's go back to Europe, where Stalin has declared war upon the Vikings. Not too surprising, considering the military buildup on the part of Stalin. Let's see if the Soviet Union is able to take over Scandinavia. If they are, they will be the first civilization in this particular series to conquer any city whatsoever. This will be interesting for a few different reasons. So, Denmark has a few different warriors. They've got an archer, 2 spearmen, and a warrior. And of course, they also have their cities to defend with. I think that Denmark will be able to defend themselves and send back the Russians to Eastern Europe. Of course, Denmark only has 2 cities, for whatever reason. They could definitely expand more into Finland or northern Scandinavia, but they've chosen not to. The Shoshone have chosen Dance of the Gods as their pantheon, nothing too special there. Let's go back west, take a look what's going on here in America. Quebec, I believe, is still at war with America, or at least they have not, or they have yet to repair their cattle lands here. And gauging from your comments, one of you guys, the Great Lakes looks like a gigantic dick. I'm inclined to agree with you. However, once again, I did not design this map. It is simply one of the base defaults of Civ 5. Denmark has declared peace with the Soviet Union, unsurprisingly. And it seems to me that the Danish have an obsession with France. They've got workers and warriors here, really for no reason. Let's go east to Asia, where Vietnam has constructed the Great Wall. Of course, China is not in this game, so really anything goes here. And speaking of Asia, what's unfortunate is that Japan has yet to arrive on mainland Asia, or Siberia. Tokyo is a pretty useless city. I don't even think they have access to luxury resources. At the moment they have 1 whale, but they don't even have a fishing ship on it, so they're pretty much useless. Of course, Washington has just designed the Oracle, or sorry, what exactly was that? I think it's the Oracle. Or the Colossus, sorry. That's exactly what it is. It is the Colossus. We'll go down to South America, or South America, which I've been neglecting for a while. The new city of Valencia is up, and basically the Venezuelans are scheduled here to take over all of South America, unless of course a North American or South African civ interferes. South Africa itself does not seem to be too interesting. It's pretty much the same that we left it last time. Let's go to the war between the United States and the Shoshone. It looks to be like the Shoshone are declaring war upon the Americans, And given some luck on the part of the Native Americans, they might be able to reverse history and take over the English colonists of the 13 colonies over here on the eastern seaboard of North America, aka the United States. We will see if they succeed in this goal. Of course, they do have numerical superiority with their military, but Washington has a choke point of 3 cities, which will all bombard any units that seek to get past their defenses. Shoshone expanding aggressively up here. As we can see, they have yet another settler, which has formed yet another city up in northern Canada, in the modern-day province of, I believe, either the Northwest Territories or crap. What's that province? The west of Ontario. I'm not Canadian. I think it's Saskatchewan. Whatever it is. Anyways, let's go back to the west, where in Asia we have peace. Nothing too bad here. Of course, Persia has just settled southern India, and they are aggressively expanding also into the Saudi Arabian Peninsula. I guess I should just say the Arabian Peninsula, as the Saudis are not in this particular game. Interesting, in Europe, the Soviet Union has taken Kaupang, which was a Danish Black Sea port. Now the Soviet Union has a port, although it is a port within a lake, which is pretty much useless. So going west, Western Europe seems to be in a relatively normal state. I remember you guys were asking me, what exactly are these green things here? They are indeed uranium, used for nuclear weapons later in the game. Atomic weapons, I guess, to be more precise. Of course, the war between the Shoshone and the United States is at a stalemate, and they just declared peace. Yet another wonder goes up for Vietnam, who seems to be using a relatively wonder-heavy strategy. And multiplayer, I tend to call these particular players wonder whores, as they do little else besides spamming wonders and gaining score that way. Let's go and take a look at the score. Top score belongs to Vietnam for wonders, unsurprisingly. Kilwa and Persia and Texas are not too far behind, mainly with wonders, but also because of cities and population. Of course, there is a massive military buildup here in East Asia. It'll be interesting to see what they do with this particular army. We still have Germany in Siberia for no particular reason. And we have Russia ever expanding to the west. Germany learned from its mistake with the previous conflict with France and have started to develop their military complex, pumping out more military units. Very, very smart. We have the second religion, which is more likely Islam. Yes, it's Islam. In Kilwa. And they've also created the Hagia Sophia. Very, very nice. Let's go back to Europe, where there is a new conflict between France and Germany. France, of course, has declared war upon the Germans. We will see if this will just be another standstill. Darius completing the Hanging Gardens. Very, very interesting. And very useful. I think Persepolis may or may not be one of the tallest cities in the game. Of course, Kilwa has a bigger city. And look at this Carthaginian buildup over here in North Africa. Very, very large military. We'll see what they do with it. But more interestingly, we will be focusing on Western Europe, where the French are invading Germany. We will see how they go about doing this. Of course, the Germans themselves have quite a bigger military this time around, and they will be more ready to defend themselves in the event of an invasion, unless, of course, the Soviet Union or Denmark decide to tag team with France and invade Germany. But so far, the French seem to gain little, if no advantage in this conflict. Right, so Carthage has declared war on Kilwa, unsurprisingly. With their massive military heading towards Mombasa, this may or may not be the first city that will be captured in this series. Of course, France and Germany are now at peace, with no territorial change. Let's go over to Egypt. Right, so the Soviet Union has developed Eastern Orthodoxy as their new religion, historically. Although the Soviet Union itself was an atheistic socialist state, but Eastern Orthodoxy remained the prevalent religion, even nowadays, in the Russian Federation. So Bismarck has declared war upon Bluetooth. I love to say Bluetooth. Makes me think of something else besides the leader, but that is beside the point. So if the Germans are to gain any advantage here, they will of course have to cross the Baltic Ocean, or I guess Baltic Lake, whatever, North Sea, there it is, the North Sea, not the Baltic Ocean, not the Baltic Lake, the North Sea. Shoshone have developed Protestantism as their religion, completely ahistorically. Let's go south to Mombasa, where the Carthaginians seem to be wrecking shop upon the Kilwanese, Swahili, however you want to refer to them. The only problem, of course, is that the Carthaginians have no melee units to capture Mombasa, and more than likely they will declare a white peace. Sorry, my allergies are pretty bad today. I do apologize in advance for the sniffles. Right, so it seems like Carthage is pulling back, and Persia is continuously expanding. Let's go north to the North Sea, where Germany is trying their hand at annexing the Baltic states, and by Baltic I mean Scandinavian states. We already see Hamburg in the Baltic region, so I misspoke. And Germany is going to have their asses handed to them. As you guys can see, the German warriors and German pikemen are within the North Sea, and thus more susceptible to missile fire from both the cities and their archers. Of course, we still have some Russian units here that have decided not to go back to the Russian Soviet Federative Republic, or social state, whatever it is. And let's go back to the southeast, where Persia has expanded once again in a desperate maneuver to take over all of the Saudi Arabian Peninsula. Not the Saudi Arabian Peninsula. I have to stop saying that. Right, so a lot of stuff is going on over here. I'm not sure if they're at war with the Vietnamese. I don't think they are. I think they're at war with Kathmandu. Let's go ahead and zoom in over here to see what's going on in Asia, modern-day India. Looks like the Vietnamese are moving on with a purpose towards Western Europe. It remains to be seen what they are trying to do, or what their goal is to accomplish here. We'll go back to the northern front in Northern Europe, where Aarhus is actually taking some damage from the Germans, surprisingly. But the Germans have pretty much lost every advantage possible, as they no longer have any military units, with the exception of one pikeman and Leonidas, their great general. Right, so Denmark has popped out another settler, which is nice, and reformation and enhancement beliefs are going up like wildfire here. Very interesting. Of course, Texas has added a reformation belief, as they chose piety. Unsurprising, considering Texas is a rather religious area of the United States. I speak, of course, from experience, being a Texan myself. We will go back to America to see what's going on over here. We have a new city from Venezuela on the coast. That brings the total to 5 cities, not too shabby. And in North America, Shoshone are blobbing like crazy, but they're blobbing in relatively worthless provinces that only have access to iron and furs. And take a look at this. Japan has landed in America, in Alaska, where there is ivory, because we all know that Alaska has an abundant source of elephants, right? Everybody knows that. We'll go back down to the southwest, where everything seems relatively normal. Of course, the Persians have yet another settler going towards East Asia this time. They seem to continuously be popping these out. They're going for a very, very wide empire. Let's go back west to the conflict between the Germans and the Danish, which has yet to conclude. And doesn't seem like really anything's going on here. Of course, very risky play by the Danish, who set their settler over here in the Baltic states. And we've got a war between Vietnam and Persia. New city by the Danish over here in, I believe, modern-day Russia. It's kind of like a toss between St. Petersburg and, I don't know, Estonia or Latvia. Right, so the Vietnamese are at war with the Persians, and take a look at this. The Vietnamese have absolutely bum-rushed the Persians over here in Pasargadae. Pasargadae? I think that's how you pronounce it. But I do believe that the Persians will hang on and annihilate the Vietnamese, as the Vietnamese are stuck in the Persian homeland without really any reinforcements. So all the Persians have to do now is defend their land and slowly bite off, with attrition, the Vietnamese invasion force. Of course, we have yet another Persian settler over here to the southwest of Korea. Interesting to see where they're going there. Vietnam has founded Buddhism, unsurprisingly. And Vietnam is still in the Persian heartland. We'll see what they do here. Of course, Persia is not too happy about this particular development, and for good reason. So I'm not sure if the Germans declared peace with the Danish, but they should be at peace pretty soon. Of course, the French have just redeclared war upon the Germans to take advantage of their weakness. Let's go back to Persia, where the Vietnamese are stuck in the mountains of modern-day Pakistan and Baluchistan province within Iran. Struggling over here. Of course, they've just declared peace. Very, very nice. Let's go back to focus on Europe, where the French are once again throwing wave upon wave of human infantry upon the walls of Berlin. We'll see if this time it is more productive, efficient. I'm trying to search for the word here. We'll see if this time it's going to work out for them. Of course, I would like to see the Big Blue Blob expand into Western Europe. Myself, I'm a Francophile. As I've mentioned in my previous videos, I love France. I mean, Germany itself gets a pretty bad rap. I love Germany as well. Western Europe in general is my jam. I love Western Europe, but I've yet to visit Germany myself. I hear it's amazing, so I don't want to hate too much on Germany. Of course, they were the focus of one of my challenge videos, and that was a hell of a lot of fun. And speaking of the German challenge, I wonder where the rebels are in this particular series. I have yet to see any rebel encampments. I wonder if they even exist. I certainly hope they do. That definitely adds some type of flavor to this game. Right, so let's take a look once again at North America, see if any developments have occurred here. Mainly, it would appear that Texas, Shoshone, and America are basically at a status quo. Of course, here in Asia, we have the new city, Persian city of Sardis, in modern day, I believe, Philippines. Very interesting. Of course, the Philippines look a bit ridiculous, kind of like a big piece of shit, but that's okay. Either that or, once again, it kind of looks like a dick. You know, you got the balls here, you got the shaft there, whatever. This is a family-friendly channel. We're not going to talk about these things. Except I already did. Sorry to anybody who I offended. Let's go back to the west, where Persia is expanding quite aggressively, and down south where Kilwa and Carthage are pretty much the same as they've always been. Of course, Ragusa and the sea-states over here, Yerevan and Sidon, they are keeping out natural expansion from the European and Middle Eastern powers. Very, very nice. France at a standstill, an absolute standstill with Germany. Nobody, as of yet, has been able to conquer anybody else by force, so this particular series might take a while, as we have yet to see any aggressive display that resulted in success. Right, so Persia is spamming wonders, as is Japan. And pretty much nothing going on over here in Siberia. Soviet Union is pretty small, considering their historical size, which was absolutely massive, of course. And Ireland is yet to be completely colonized by the British, although they have colonized Meath, which is pretty historical in terms of what actually happened with Great Britain, formerly England. Of course, England has yet to colonize really anywhere, somewhat ahistorically, but then again, this is only 1030 AD. They need time to develop their economy. And France is just making a hell of a lot of mistakes here in attacking Germany. If they were a human player, they should have no problem whatsoever in destroying Germany with the amount of troops they have. Speaking of Malacca, one of y'all said that Malacca was on the wrong island. I do agree with you, it is in Sumatra. That is my bad. I'm not too familiar with Indonesian slash Malaysian geography. I do want to apologize. Of course, we have a war over here with Venezuela and Panama City. We will see if the Venezuelans will be able to take it. It'll be a strategic pathway to North America. 2 more wars, of course, have been declared. A massive Carthaginian attack force is about to land in Iberia and Italy against the French, who are still at war with the Germans. The French may or may not get screwed over by this. And once again, the Native Americans have declared war upon the Texans, who themselves seem to be readily available to defend their land. We will see exactly how this goes. We have more war in Europe between England, Denmark, and France and Carthage. If any city is taken here, it'll be more than likely Algiers. Between the French and the Carthaginians, take a look at this. Carthaginians with a massive assault force, ready to take over Algiers. America, of course, has founded the new religion of Hinduism. Incredibly ahistorically, I've never seen that before. Very interesting. And Patakello, aka the Native Americans, are raiding Austin, Texas, with a very large attack force. We will see if the Texans will be able to defend themselves. I do believe they will. And going back over here to Europe, the Carthaginians are still throwing themselves at Algiers, with little to show for it. Of course, to the north, the British are doing lots and lots of work against Copenhagen. This may or may not be the first city that falls. Be very interesting if it is. Of course, Copenhagen is at less than 1/10 of its health. This will probably, more than likely, be the first city that falls. Take a look at this. Austin, Texas is under siege by the Shoshone. I cry for my countrymen, as the Texans are burning to the ground just as fast as the Danish are here to the north in Scandinavia. Let's take a look at what's going on over here. Copenhagen is the first capital to be taken out. And Texas, of course, has lost their capital as well, but they've reclaimed it within the same turn. I'm not sure if Texas will ever be able to recover from that, as they now have a population of 2 in their capital. Very, very sad. But take a look at this. Copenhagen is firmly within the hands of the British. We will see what happens to Denmark, although the future of Denmark is uncertain. Of course, going back to the west, we have Texas losing their capital once again. Really, really, really unfortunate, as this was basically a civilization that I wanted to see win, for somewhat biased reasons, I should say. Of course, nobody's surprised there. I am from Texas once again. I would love to see them win, but they've already won 1 game, so I guess I should be happy with that. Of course, Austin's been brutally massacred, and we have some city-states that want to get in on this action over here. A new American city, Atlanta, on the northern coast of the Great Lakes in modern-day Canada, has been founded. Very, very nice. Let's go back east to Europe, where the British are firmly in control of Copenhagen. We will see if they decide to take Aarhus. I do believe Stalin is the first into the Renaissance era. Very, very nice for the Soviet Union. Of course, the Persians are expanding incredibly fast. They've got yet another settler heading to the north. We'll see where exactly they decide to go. We'll go back to the west, where Britain is still at war with Denmark. And it appears to me that they are moving on the new capital of Denmark. That's a tongue twister. We'll see what exactly happens there. Let's go back to the west, where we have Texas fighting for their independence from the Native Americans. And a recent development is that the Carthaginians have lost their second African holding to Kilwa, who is now the predominant African power. Of course, Carthage still holds on to Hipparchus. We will see what is happening there. To the north, the English are still throwing men at Aarhus, the capital of Denmark, with reinforcements coming from the west. And heading to the south, Carthage has made peace with Kilwa under, I'm not even sure what the terms are. I think they're relatively fair. Unfortunately, Houston has also been captured by the Shoshone, and San Antonio is looking like the last holdout for the Texans. It seems to me that the Texans are pretty much history at this point, unfortunately, unless they can get a peace with the Shoshone, which is looking like it might be more or less impossible at this point in time. Very, very unfortunately. Of course, the Americans are doing something really wonky over here. They're sending their settler into Nunavut, Canada. No idea why. But Texas is really holding out. They have yet another settler. Hopefully they don't send it south, where the Native Americans would absolutely destroy it and convert it into their own worker. Right, so San Antonio will be a tough cookie to crack, considering they have mountainous terrain here, although Texas has no defense whatsoever, unfortunately. Let's go back to South America, where things are still developing, and east into Europe, where England is at war with Denmark. It's an ongoing conflict, although it seems to me that the English will not be able to crack Aarhus. Notre Dame is in America. That makes sense. A new city from the Soviet Union, Belarus, up here to the north of Moscow. Minsk. Very, very interesting. And take a look at the city up here in England. It's a lot bigger than I expected. Nottingham, of course, is in Siberia. A lot bigger than I expected. And the Persian Empire is ever expanding. They've got 2 more settlers heading into East Asia. I have no idea where they're going. Perhaps they're going to Australia. We really don't know at this point. That, of course, is my alarm for my video length. Unfortunately, I have to keep my video length down so that it doesn't take forever for me to upload these videos. It takes about a day for me to upload these videos. So if you guys are wondering about the delay, that is indeed the reason. Venezuela has settled yet another city, and Texas is at peace with the city-state. It appears to me that Japan is at war with Korea now. You'll see how that goes as soon as we take a look at San Antonio, which is in a bad position, but I believe that the Texans will be able to hold on to dear life there. We're going back to the west, where, take a look at this, Korea has absolutely surrounded the newest Japanese city of Kagoshima, and they should absolutely decimate it. I mean, take a look at that. In one turn, they've captured Kagoshima, unsurprisingly, and the capital of Japan itself is under siege. Of course, Kilwa and Persia are now at war with each other. Darius declaring war upon Kilwa. Let's take a look to see if the Persians will be able to rebuild their empire and capture Egypt for themselves. To the north, Denmark and I believe England are at peace now. And going to the west, in America, San Antonio is still very much under siege. Very, very sad day for the Texans. Very, very sad day. Let's go into Asia, where Japan is absolutely getting thrashed here by the technologically superior Korea. Japan may or may not be wiped off the face of the map here in the next turn. It appears to me that they will be. Of course, destroying cities in this game is forbidden, so we can expect to see massive, massive unrest as these sprawling, aggressive empires take over more and more cities that they cannot, I guess, withstand or develop into happy cities, happy empires, I should say. Japan has lost its capital of Kyoto, and Tokyo and Osaka are next as the Korean War machine is developing and picking up speed now that we are into the early medieval period. Their technology is really starting to pick up. I will be ending this particular series very, very soon, probably as soon as Japan is wiped out. And Texas, of course, taking a lot of damage over here in San Antonio. They really need to get out their settler and send it to the north, maybe in Alaska, where the United States might be able to help them out. Predominant North American power right now is, of course, Shoshone, without a doubt. Chicago has been placed in Labrador, Newfoundland. I have no idea why, but that is the case. Let's go to the west, where the Koreans are taking out Osaka. Yep, next turn Osaka should fall, and all of Japan will be under the control of Korea, with the exception of Japanese Alaska to the northeast. And Texas cannot catch a break, as everybody is looking to destroy them. Shoshone will take control of Texas next turn. Most unfortunately, take a look at that. Just like that, Texas has been wiped out of the game. The first civilization to fall was my homeland. Very, very sad day for me and my channel. Well, guys, you've seen it. Texas is destroyed. I guess it is just a video game. I shouldn't be too upset. Of course, Japan itself has fallen. I want to thank you guys for watching part 2. Part 3 will be out very, very soon. So stay tuned. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Take a look at this. As a bonus, it seems like Persia is ready to expand into Australia. They seem to just be expanding everywhere they can. Of course, they were not able to take over Egypt. And let's go and take a look at the demographics as a bonus. Population goes to the Koreans, crop yield, manufactured goods, and GNP belong to Persia, and the Shoshone take land and soldiers. So very, very interesting. Of course, I take the approval of literacy, but that's no surprise, considering I've got my little submarine, my nuclear submarine over here. This is actually how I make my games, if anybody was curious. I did my settler and have a nuclear submarine underneath the ice. So guys, thanks again for watching. Next video will be out very soon. Perhaps America will be able to withstand the force of the Shoshone Empire, which is growing at an incredibly aggressive and exponential rate. So, I'll see you guys in the next video.